This is Basketball Friends. He's Matt Tate. I'm Nick Schwartz, and we now officially have our first guest in the history of Basketball Friends, Cole Aldridge. Congratulations to you, by the way. That's a pretty, it's a pretty big honor. But we are going alphabetically, so it just kind of worked out that way. Immediately has the best Zoom background of the three of us.
What are you doing to keep yourself busy otherwise? I mean, it's got to be weird not playing.
You know, I was actually talking to a buddy of mine the other day. It's been 2 years since I retired. I played 8 years and then ended up going to China. I played in China for 3-4 months maybe. Mm-hmm. Right around Christmas, I sprained my MCL, came home, rehabbed, and was going to continue on. And you know, I played and I worked out and all that, and then found out my wife was pregnant and she was due in January. So that's the middle of basketball season. It really just didn't make sense for us to be somewhere together or for her to be here and me to be gone. You know, I kind of took the winter off and then COVID, and I was kind of like, you know what? The decision has been made and I'm happy with it. And it was so much fun, but I'm getting to a point where it's a young guy's, it's a young guy's sport. And not that I'm old, but you know, in a lot of eyes, being 32, I am old.
Well, don't talk to me, man. I'm 10 years older than you. So what was the difference between the two levels and your experience? You know, you were a star here and such a huge part of KU and at that level, more of a role player and that type of thing.
You know, when I got drafted, I was in Oklahoma City. So that feel in Oklahoma City was very similar to, you know, Lawrence and KU, because small town. They love their sports. Everybody, you know, kind of rallied around the Thunder, and we were really good. So that made it really fun. And then I got traded a few times and found out kind of the other side of the league of maybe not being so good and not being in good situations and having, you know, teams not really caring to win when, you know, all the players wanted to. You know, my time at KU was so much fun. It felt longer than the 3 years, just because Coach Self and Dooley recruited me since like freshman year. I had made a trip down there once a year, maybe twice a year, and watched the game and kind of hung around. But you know, that kind of extended it to be what was probably, you know, six or even 7 years of being around. I met so many friends. I met my wife at KU. Playing in the NBA was great. It was a grind, and it was fun just to kind of look back and think, wow, you know, I was able to play for almost a decade.
When you got drafted, and I'm hopefully you remember this, otherwise I'm going to look like a fool. But do you remember I spent some time with you the day before the draft in New York? Yeah, okay. You just talked about the league being a grind. The day before the draft, you're at that Sean John store and you're getting your suit fitted. And you were in the dressing room, and I was waiting outside with your wife, or future wife, I guess, at the time. The guy from the store walked back there and knocked on the door and asked you what drink you would like to have brought to you. I think that's what people think the NBA is, but it's more ice baths and travel and you know, back-to-backs and things like that.
My whole thing was I never wanted to take it for granted, because you know, you just never know how long it's going to last. It could last 3 years through my rookie contract, or it could have lasted 15 years. You know, I was fortunate. 8 years is a long career. You know, I always say it's hard to get there, but it's harder to stay. At times it got better for sure, because I'm not stupid. We stayed at the best hotels in the world. And, you know, we traveled on chartered planes and we didn't have to go through security, and we had a lot of resources around us. Handing a drink. I usually get handed the drink, especially when I was in New York, and I was like, here's $18 for a Leinenkugel.
Good call.
Do you ever check the Basketball Reference pages? You know how they have nicknames for you guys? Do you know what your nickname is on Basketball Reference? Cold sore. Has anybody ever called you cold sore?
Yes, I will tell you a story. My rookie year in Oklahoma City, I don't know, why is that even on there?
I couldn't believe it.
But there is one guy that we can thank, Nick Collison.
Go figure.
Collison stayed with me I think it was my second year in the league, first or second year. Maybe it was my first year in the league, because he was trying to get an apartment and he couldn't get in right away. So he stayed all throughout training camp. And that is Nick's nickname for me for some odd reason.
That's such an unfortunate nickname to have stick.
All sorts of anything else, but Colesor is what he calls me for some reason.
Your last 2 years, I mean, you averaged, we got it written down here, 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 4.5 blocks a game in the tournament. And everybody knows what you did as a freshman, you know, coming on that stage against North Carolina and having that monster game against Hansbrough. I mean, what can you say about the importance of experience in the tournament? Is experience that big, or was it just the right time for you, or how do you look at that?
I don't know if experience is really going to matter too much this year, just because you don't have a fan base and you don't have that extra added kind of pressure that people give you, you know, coming down to the wire in a close game. But, you know, my freshman year, I was able to play all the games, play really well in the Final Four. And then, you know, my sophomore year, we came and actually played in Minnesota. So, you know, that was another kind of added excitement of, you know, wanting to play well and win those games, and really played probably the best game that I ever had played at KU when I was here. But this year is kind of interesting. The team kind of reminds me of my sophomore year. You know, honestly, when I look at them, I think that they could get blown out the first game by 20, or, you know, they could get to the Final Four. You just, you know, you just don't quite know, because they've started to play good as of late. But then you kind of just don't really know.
I hope you don't have PTSD, because I'm sorry to make you walk down memory lane, but when the tightness sets in, do you feel it? Is that real?
You know, I think for me, I always kind of took basketball as like, it was always fun to me. I never tried to put too much pressure on myself, because I felt like, you know, when you do that, it's not enjoyable. You know, going into a game feeling like, man, if we don't win this game by 15, we really screwed up. And, you know, sure, I had some of those thoughts, but realistically, you know, sometimes you're just not going to play well with limited fans, being in a bubble. A lot of guys are going to just, you know, especially college kids, where you saw NBA guys start to go stir crazy. Now you get some college kids that want to be around people and to do things. And, you know, it's really going to make that an added kind of distraction in a way.
The Hansbrough game and the triple-double against Dayton, right? Is there even a third that would even rank with those for you as far as your favorite or best tournament games? Or
my freshman year, we played Nebraska for senior night, and we blew them out by like 50. But that was, I always kind of think that was like the start of my confidence, because I think I had like 10 and 10. I had a double-double. I played well. It kind of was one of those things that I finally got an opportunity in a sense, because, you know, the game was over from the tip. It was senior night. Here I am playing 15 minutes when I normally probably played like 8 or 9. Getting into that and then kind of leading up to being in those games and ultimately playing in the Final Four, and then playing in the national championship game, and I played like crap and played only game.
We play a game every week where I take a Bill Self quote, and it's about either a current or a former player, and he's got to guess which player it is. And I don't know what's your record on the season, Matt?
I want to say maybe like 3 and 5.
It's bad.
In there.
Yeah. And he's on a cold streak. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to play this game. No pressure.
Oh, thank God.
I'll give you a hint. Yeah. I'll make it easier on you than I do with Matt. Okay? Are you game for this?
Yeah.
Name that player with Cole Aldridge. Here's your quote. The thing about him is, nobody that I've ever had the opportunity to coach has ever improved at a more accelerated rate than he has. Name that player.
What's your hint?
The hint is this player played from, he was there like around 2008 to like 2011 or 2012.
I'm just going to say myself, because I was in that area.
Oh, there it is. Wow. Cole Aldridge with the walk-off, 1-0. That's quite the glowing endorsement, though. Nobody has improved at such an accelerated rate under Bill Self than you.
I have to admit that's pretty true. I mean, when I got to campus, I was a McDonald's All-American and I was a really good player, but when I walked on campus, I couldn't walk and chew gum. In Dooley, you can ask Dooley to this day. I mean, he probably looked at Coach Self and was like, dude, what the hell did you bring this dude in for? Like, this dude he's good, but like, Doodles, why did you recruit him? He can't play. And then all of a sudden, I find a way to just kind of get better every day and go through, the ringer in sort of a sense with Danny and Sasha and Darrell and Darnell, and finding ways to just get better and better. And then all of a sudden, my sophomore year, it kind of falls into place of Sharon and I are the only people, and we need to keep this train going, because quite frankly, we don't want to be those people that don't win the conference again, or don't have an opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament, because we lost a lot of guys and we lost a lot of experience, but we had Sharon, and I was able to kind of mold into a good player at that time.
I'm glad you got it too, because I mean, I probably wouldn't have got it. So you were uniquely qualified in both ways. One, you weren't a total loser like me, and two, it was about you. It's perfect.
Yeah, a little bit of a trick question, but I wasn't sure if you would.
Give me a layup.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you'd guess yourself or not, but I'm glad you got it.